Hey friends, I wanted to do another video where I just was here talking with all of you about specifically being queer and coming out and how all of those steps went for me and kind of my story of being queer. Just because, again, we're in Pride Month and I wanted to kind of do a series about having people hear my story and know that you're not alone if you've gone through something like me, or even if your story isn't even similar to mine, that you're still not alone, because we're individuals and we're all unique, and each of our experiences are always going to be different based on numerous factors. And so anyways, thanks for watching this video and taking the time to hear my story. And yeah, here we go. Oh, I guess Hobbs wants to be a part of this video too, and so happy to have him along as well. He's been super snuggly today, so feeling pretty fortunate for that. And okay, so anyways, so my story kind of starts out when, I grew up, I guess, when, I should say, when I was little. I was very much a tomboy. I absolutely, I dressed, as you would say, like more masculine. I definitely didn't really like to wear dresses. Makeup wasn't my thing. I just, like, my appearance wasn't something I just really identified with. I just, it was just me. And I liked being me, and I was happy and comfortable with who I was, and was very fortunate to not have anyone during my childhood ever tease me for who I was and how I represented myself or presented myself. So I know that's not true for a lot of people, but anyways, I that was just much of who I was. And so I grew up, acting very much like a tomboy. I loved hanging out with the boys at daycare. I was into sports. I wanted to, do everything that the boys did. Okay, sorry, Hobbs is playing with the camera and being a sweet, sweet little boy. And so I played a lot with the boys at daycare and at school, and just loved to play sports. And so then, as I was growing up and, in my elementary school years, I do recall, like, people asking me, if I was gay, and I really didn't understand what that meant. The only understanding that I had about being gay was that I knew my uncle was gay and my aunt was a lesbian, which also meant gay. But more than that, I didn't really know what it meant. And so, of course, when I'm asked this question, I was like, I don't know, I'm not gay. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not gay. And I just remember after being questioned that as a kid, I would constantly think about, do I have an attraction to women? Because that must be what gay means. If, my aunt is with a woman and she's a lesbian, and that's the only connotation with lesbian that I had, that must be what that means. And so I would question myself all the time, and I just did not feel like I had an attraction to women. It was just not of interest to me. And so, growing up, I, had that in the back of my mind, and went throughout high school. I had my first boyfriend in high school, dated him for about 3 years, and then, went to college and dated some men in college. And then I moved out to Portland, actually, and that's when I first really discovered that I had an attraction to women. And it was very interesting to have that discovery, because I felt like for so long I was, like, trying to trying to always, you know, think about it and question myself and question what was going on. And so I, you know, definitely was worried. Worried isn't the right word, I guess. I was definitely, you know, thinking about it pretty consistently. And so I surprised myself when I kind of made that discovery. And the discovery came when, you know, I moved out here. My best friend that I was living with back in Duluth, she moved to Colorado, and, you know, we still kept in touch, and we were, you know, very close friends. And so after being away from her for, you know, almost 6 months time, I started to realize that I really missed her, and I missed her in a way that I never really missed other people. And so I started to like look into that and see what that meant for me and why I was feeling that way. And that's when I discovered that, that it was because I had feelings for her and that I wanted to be with her. And so, you know, I sat on that for a while and did not want to pursue anything until I really was, you know, sure that that's how I was feeling. And you know, I talked with some friends out here about that, and, you know, had really great support when I was still just, you know, questioning myself and, you know, how I was feeling. And so that's when, yeah, with that support, I felt the encouragement to, you know, let my best friend know, which she's Jessica was my best friend, is who I was talking about. And I let her know, and when I let her know, she was taken aback and, you know, had said that, you know, she didn't want to pursue a relationship with me because it wasn't the right time. And, you know, I'll talk about that in another video, kind of about our story and how, you know, that all developed and everything. But either way, it was just, yeah, you know, and I was willing to wait and see because she was the one that I wanted to be with. And, you know, and it made me feel like, you know, it had more time to, you know, explore my sexuality and see, you know, how I was feeling about my identity and what I wanted to identify as. And, you know, that's when I, you know, really made the discovery that the word queer was the right word that I wanted to use to identify myself. And that's because, you know, queer is a kind of an umbrella term. A lot of people use that as, or it encompasses a lot of different aspects of the LGBTQ plus community. And I just feel like queer for me was just like the best identity, because I still am not sure how I identify my sexuality specifically. Am I bisexual? Am I pansexual? Am I, you know, a term that I've never heard before, is that my sexuality? You know, I don't want to come to that resolution yet. I'm not ready for that because I'm still discovering that. And then in addition to that, I use the pronouns primarily as she, her, but I do not, I prefer also they, them. And, you know, I feel like it's important, you know, that I do not put myself in a box of like how I identify in my gender and those kinds of things as well. And so that's kind of where I'm at, as why queer feels like the best identifying word for me. So anyway, so that being said, that's kind of been what my journeys look like. And, you know, moving from that, there's been a lot in this journey that has been eye-opening in the way of, you know, how my internalized feelings about when I was kind of confronted with this thought about being gay when I was little, that I've kind of internalized this self-hatred towards my, you know, self, of course, why it's called self-hatred, in regards to things that I do, you know, when I'm out in public with my partner, like in certain areas or in certain situations, social situations or whatever it may be. There's certain times where I feel uncomfortable showing my affection towards her. And I catch myself, you know, when those times occur, because I'm a very affectionate person. I love PDA. That doesn't bother me. And, you know, so I self-reflect on those times where I kind of don't allow for that to take place. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself and to my partner? Especially when my partner is not reciprocating that same kind of feeling. Like, she does want to be engaged with me and, you know, show physical intimacy and things like that. And, you know, I realize it's because of certain situations that I'm in that I am trying to make other people not feel uncomfortable about my queerness. And that is such a problem, because it doesn't matter what other people think about me and my identity and who I am. If I'm not harming that person, if I'm not saying mean things in some kind of fashion to them, if I am essentially just treating them as I would treat anyone else, with respect and dignity, that I don't have any ownership of how they react to who I am. And so that being said, I need to start to, you know, work on that more and more, and being okay with who I am, and, you know, and not, you know, trying to change myself for other people in that way to make them feel comfortable. You know, they need to start looking within to be more comfortable. That's their issue to work with. So that's one thing that, you know, I've really been focusing on and working on. And another thing is that, you know, I've been looking at my privilege as being a mostly cisgender person. And I say mostly because, you know, I do primarily use she, her, but I don't mind using they, them pronouns for myself. And so that being said, I look very cisgender. You know, when I don't dress like a tomboy as much these days. And, you know, at my profession, what I do for work is kind of this certain profession that people will go to you and they will be very judgmental of who you are as the person that works in this particular field. I already have a lot of that, you know, just based on my age and how young I am, so ageism, and then my sex, because it's a male-dominated field typically, even though in Portland it's more female-dominated. And, you know, and so, you know, I'm already kind of looked at differently because of those two aspects of myself that are just by appearance that people have of me. And, you know, and that being said, they don't see me as queer specifically because I do wear dresses to work. I do wear things that fit my body shape in a certain way that is kind of looked at as more of a feminine way of dressing. You know, so that in itself is a way that I have privilege in being a queer person, because people aren't looking at me and saying, oh, she's queer or they're queer. And so, you know, I'm going to automatically treat that person differently based on what they look like to me. And, you know, and that's something that is also a problem, and something that we need to destigmatize as like what it means to be and look queer. Just to be yourself, to be who you are, and express yourself in how you want to express yourself. I mean, why is it that people have to be judgmental about that? You're not harming anyone when you're just expressing yourself. As long as you are just being you, that should be enough, always. And so, you know, those are two things that I'm really, you know, working on at this time, you know, internally, because these are things that I'm recognizing about myself that I need to work on, even being a person who is queer, because this is never ending. You know, we're always going to be working on, you know, taking out old ideas that we've known for years and replacing them with new ideas that actually better suit who we are, what we want to, you know, put out in the world, and what we just identify with in general. And so with that being said, I'm just thankful for the journey that I have been on. And just to add one little bit, I forgot because I think I said at the beginning of this video, you know, kind of my coming out, you know, situation. And when I came out to my family and friends and things like that, there were certain friends that knew, and then, you know, I kind of let my family know in November of that year when I had shared with Jessica, it was how I was feeling about her. And, you know, I am very thankful that I have family and friends that love me for who I am, no matter what. And I did not receive any judgment when I came out to anyone in my family or in my group of friends. And I know, again, that that's a very rare and fortunate and privileged place to be. And so I am so thankful that I have people in my life that are educated, know who I am and care about me, and know that being queer doesn't make me a bad person, doesn't make me a person who is living a more sinful life or anything like that. And I just, I'm thankful for what experience I had with that. And I know that that's not true for many people. And so I guess that's one other thing that I should be really working on during this time is, you know, giving space to people in the queer community that have not had those experiences and privileges like I have, in the way of, you know, supportive family and friends and community during a time that is really challenging when you share more about who you are and your authenticity of yourself. But either way, with that being said, I really hope that this video helped, you know, bring you some light and peace in the way of, you know, knowing that you're not alone. If you've questioned your sexuality for years, if this is a new journey for you, if it's a journey that you're going to experience down the road, I mean, there's no better time than when the time is right for you to make that discovery for yourself. And just know that it's a really great discovery, you know, when you do come to it and feel comfortable about who you are, no matter what that looks like. And I just am sending love to all of you that are struggling through this time, or are just struggling, you know, with your identity, or being able to share with other people who you are. But know that you can always reach out if you need any assistance or any buddy to just talk to, you know, about what you're going through, and that I'm here for you. So I hope that you are taking care and that you have the best day that you can have, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.